All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive. This time, we're going way back, like Roman times.
Roman Britain.
Yeah, so you're in year 3 history, right? And you're probably wondering, why'd the Romans even go to Britain? It's not exactly a quick trip from Rome.
Right.
Was it all about, like, gold and emperors trying to show off?
Well, there's definitely some of that,
I bet.
but it's a lot more complicated.
Okay, so let's break it down then. I guess we should start with the basics, right? We've got Emperor Claudius landing in Britain in 43 AD. He definitely wanted to make a splash, but just how important was Britain to Rome?
Okay, so think about this. Rome, at its core, was an empire, and empires are built on expansion.
Right, they're always looking for more land, more resources, more power.
Exactly. And Britain, even though it was far away, it was a pretty tempting target.
Why? What did they have that Rome wanted so bad?
Well, Britain had a lot of valuable resources.
Like what?
Tin.
Okay, for making bronze.
Right. Lead, too. Important for all sorts of things back then.
Plumbing, I guess.
Yeah, and even weapons. And of course, they had gold.
Ah, gold. Everyone wants gold.
Exactly. So controlling Britain didn't just mean grabbing some shiny stuff. It meant controlling trade, resources, and preventing anyone else from getting their hands on them. It was strategic.
Okay, so Claudius was playing the long game. It wasn't just about adding another feather to his cap. He was expanding Rome's power in a big way. But Rome's takeover wasn't a walk in the park, was it?
No, not at all. They faced a lot of resistance from the native Celtic tribes.
And that's where our rebellious queen comes in, right? Boudicca.
Yes, Boudicca is like the ultimate symbol of resistance against Roman rule in Britain.
I mean, you've got this Celtic queen standing up to the most powerful empire the world had ever seen. Talk about an underdog story.
It's an incredible story. Boudicca was the queen of the Iceni tribe. Her husband, the king, had actually tried to work with the Romans.
He thought he could play nice and keep some control over his people.
Right. He made a deal with them, hoping to maintain some autonomy even after the Roman invasion.
Sounds like a risky move.
It was, and it backfired big time. When Boudicca's husband died, the Romans completely reneged on the deal. They took over his lands, treated his family terribly, and basically tried to erase the Iceni as a distinct people.
Wow, they really went back on their word, didn't they?
They did. And that's what sparked the rebellion. Boudicca was furious. She wasn't going to stand for this betrayal, and neither were her people.
So she didn't just, like, write a strongly worded letter, right? This was a full-on revolt.
Oh, yeah. Boudicca managed to unite various Celtic tribes who were all fed up with Roman rule. They launched a massive attack targeting key Roman settlements.
And they weren't messing around, were they?
No, they were not. They actually managed to destroy Londinium.
Wait, Londinium? That's like London, right?
Exactly.
Whoa. They burned London to the ground.
They did, along with 2 other major Roman cities. It was a huge blow to Roman prestige and power. They really underestimated Boudicca and the strength of the Celtic resistance.
So what happened? How did Rome get back on top?
Well, they brought in the big guns, so to speak. They had to. This rebellion was a serious threat.
The Roman army.
Exactly. And the Roman army, man, it was a force to be reckoned with. It wasn't just about size. It was their organization, the training, their equipment. They were like a well-oiled machine.
They had, like, special formations and stuff, right? I remember learning about that.
Oh, yeah. They had all sorts of formations for different combat situations.
Like what?
Well, there was the testudo, which was a super defensive formation where the soldiers locked their shields together to form a protective shell. Imagine that.
It's like a walking tank.
Basically. It allowed them to approach enemy positions or withstand attacks with incredible protection.
It's amazing. What else?
And then there was the wedge formation, which was used for offensive maneuvers. They'd form this arrow-shaped formation, pointed right at the enemy line, and just smash through it.
I can see why they were so successful. That level of discipline and coordination on the battlefield, it must have been terrifying to go up against.
Oh, absolutely. By 80 AD, Roman control had been reestablished across most of England and Wales. They used their military might to quell the rebellions, but they also built roads, established towns, introduced their legal system. They were really in it for the long haul.
So Britain became a Roman province. For real this time.
Pretty much.
But it didn't last forever, did it? I mean, eventually the Romans left Britain.
You're right. Around the 4th and 5th centuries AD, the Roman Empire was starting to crumble. They were facing a lot of internal problems, economic instability. And they were also dealing with constant attacks from Germanic tribes.
Yeah, the barbarians at the gates.
Exactly. These tribes were putting immense pressure on Rome's borders, and the empire was struggling to hold everything together.
So they couldn't really afford to keep troops in Britain anymore.
It was a tough decision, but yeah, Emperor Honorius, he had to make a choice.
Protect the heart of the empire or hold on to this distant province.
Exactly. So in 410 AD, he recalled the Roman legions from Britain, leaving the island to fend for itself.
And that was pretty much the end of Roman Britain.
Well, in terms of direct rule, yes, but their impact, their legacy, that lasted much, much longer.
What do you mean?
Think about it. Roman law, their language, their engineering, their architecture, their culture, all of it left an indelible mark on Britain.
Give me an example.
Well, take Roman roads. They built this incredible network of roads across Britain, and many of those roads formed the basis for, like, the British road system for centuries to come.
Wow, so even their roads had a lasting impact.
Right, and then there's the Latin language. It had a huge influence on the development of the English language.
It's amazing how a civilization that existed so long ago could continue to shape the world in such profound ways.
It is. It really shows you how interconnected history is.
Totally. Okay, so let's zoom out for a second and recap what we've learned. The Romans came to Britain for a bunch of reasons. Power, resources, strategic advantage. They didn't just waltz in and take over, though. They faced pushback, especially from Boudicca and those she united. But the Roman army was a beast. It was organized, disciplined, and they had these incredible battle tactics that allowed them to dominate.
And don't forget their infrastructure, the roads, the settlements they built.
Right. All of that contributed to their long reign in Britain. But then the Roman Empire itself started to decline.
Facing attacks from all sides.
Yeah, and they just couldn't afford to keep their troops in Britain anymore. So they packed up and left, but not before leaving their mark. Their legacy lives on in Britain, from language to roads to even how we think about law and government.
Exactly. And it makes you wonder, right? Like, what if the Romans had never come to Britain? How different would the island be today?
That's a great question, and it's something for you guys to think about, too. What would Britain be like if the Romans had never invaded?
Would it even be called Britain? Would they speak English?
So many possibilities. That's the amazing thing about history, isn't it? It's full of these what-ifs and sliding doors moments that make you really think.
It definitely keeps things interesting.
Totally. Well, that's all the time we have for today's deep dive. Thanks for joining us. We'll be back soon with another fascinating topic from the world of history.